Hi there, this is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. At some time during June, Goodreads put up some lists on different genres, and they're the 12 books in that genre that are the favourites of Goodreads members, and it's according to different things, ratings, discussions, likes, comments, all that type of thing. So I decided to grab the 12 books that are on the thriller list and read them all. So I'm going through them slowly, one by one, as I get them from the library, because I get most of my books from the library. And one of the books is called Portrait of a Thief, written by Grace D. Lee. Here's the cover. Now I've got to admit, if it wasn't on the top 12 list that Goodreads gave out, I wouldn't bother with this book because the cover doesn't interest me at all. I find it a very poor cover, to be honest. I don't think it's a very interesting cover, and I don't think it's a very clever cover. But anyway, when I read the blurb, I thought, this book sounds really interesting. It's about an art heist, and it just sounded like it was going to be so exciting with so much tension, so much suspense. You know, we're going to get good scenes of these people trying to steal artwork from museums around the world, and there's going to be all this tension. Can they do it? Can they bypass security? Can they beat, the cameras and the lasers and the sensors, all that sort of thing going on in this book? That's what I thought it was going to be. It's not. It's mainly about 5 college-age students in America. They're all Chinese American, and they're all suffering from, almost like identity crisis. They're wondering if they're American, should they be Chinese, where they fit in the world, and how they feel about history of both countries as well. That goes all through the novel, and it's more about that than about the heists. And so there's not much excitement at all in this novel, and I think there are a lot of people out there who read this book, who may read it in the future, who are going to feel the same way. So just a warning, this book doesn't have much suspense in it. The art heists make up a very, very small fraction of this book. The plot itself is quite simple, and I think the author is heavily influenced by other movies about art heists, and maybe about just history in general, history between China and the Western world, and also the history about art theft or theft of artworks during conquests from centuries ago. That's where all the influence comes from that goes into this book. The plot is a student of history, he's a history major, Will Chen. He works part-time in a museum. When he's working there, there's a robbery that takes place, and he sees a moment where he can grab a figurine, a jade figurine from a broken case. So he does, snatches it, and then he finds an invitation, a calling card in his pocket. And it's very mysterious. And so when he calls that number, he's given an offer. Get a crew together, come to China, learn more. We've got an offer for you. You could make a lot of money. He rounds up friends he's known since childhood, most of them, friends he's met later on, but they're all the same age. They're either all at college or maybe left college recently. So one left college recently to get a job at Google, but they're all Chinese American. They all go to Beijing, meet this mysterious lady who's the CEO of a huge corporation, a mega rich corporation, and the offer is steal these 5 heads that are 5 heads from the Chinese zodiac, steal them and bring them back to China, and you'll get $50 million. So it's $10 million each if you can do this. They've got no expertise in theft. They're just floundering really in how to organize this and get this done. They all eventually agree to do it. Off they go to their first art heist, and that's where you think, okay, it's going to get really exciting here. It's going to get really tense, suspenseful. It doesn't. And the art heist itself is so ridiculous, so over the top, unbelievable. It doesn't make sense, and it spoils it for me because it's just too ridiculous to be true. Not only that, but the plot just loses all interest in the art heists in a way, in the actual action of the art heists, and it's more about the characters, how they feel about themselves, their identity, how they fit with China and America, how they think about the history, where they're going to be going after this, just their own growth. That's what the book's about. And so it just drags down that excitement level. There's no excitement through the book. There's no tension. There's no suspense. There's just no action at all. I also found the writing a bit repetitive and a bit out of place for what this book should be. So we have waxing lyrical prose about sunsets, about the ocean, about skies and birds, freedom, all that sort of thing. But it happens very often. Almost every chapter has that. Also, every character point of view, so we have 5 characters and we have chapters from each of the characters from their point of view, but each point of view sounds the same. There's no individuality in those point of views. They're all written, they all feel the same. And that was disappointing as well, because I want to see different characters come out in this book. I mean, you've got 5 different people and they have 5 different sets of skills. I mean, one's a medical student, one works for Google, one's a history major, one I think wants to work in finance, one loves to race cars, is also an engineer. 5 different points of view about their own interests, about the world. You think they'd have different points of view in this book, but they don't. What I think this book is a great example of a slick marketing team. The marketing team were able to take a book that's mediocre and turn it into a bestseller. Not only that, I think this book is picked up by Netflix to make a TV show. Netflix will have to work really hard to make this interesting, I think, for a TV show, because there's nothing in there that's going to draw people in who like action-type stories. Most of the characters in this book are disappointing. They're not written in a way to engage you. You know, where we should feel tension and suspense, we don't really feel that. And they all feel the same. They're all written almost the same way. Let's focus on Will first. Will Chen. He's the main character. He's the one that draws all the other people in to this heist. He comes across as very one-dimensional. Not much to him, other than the fact that he's an art history major. He just whinges a lot as well in this book. For somebody who's meant to be the team leader, the person who drags all these people in, he has no concept of what he's doing, and it comes across in this book. And he just spends a lot of time whinging about his situation, about how he wants to get out of it and do something. And he just seems to be a bit awkward in his emotions. And I don't know if the author wrote this character very well. There's not much depth to him at all. Daniel, who's Will's best friend, he's also a medical student. This character had depth. The depth comes from the relationship between Daniel and his father. And his father is an FBI special agent about Chinese art crimes, basically. The depth in the relationship between Daniel and his father rounds out Daniel's character quite well and gives Daniel those doubts he has about the crimes. And he's really the only character, I think, that's fully 3-dimensional. Alex, who's also one of the 5 people in the heist crew, she's interesting because she was an MIT student who left to get a job at Google, and this job pays her well. But she decides, I'm not happy with Google getting that money. I want this adventure. I want to be part of the crew in this art heist. And that seemed an odd motivation to me. You know, I wasn't convinced that this person who had a good job would be convinced to join this crew for the art heist. That didn't convince me at all. Because of that, this character just didn't feel that lifelike for me. I didn't believe the motivation, so I didn't really engage with the character at all. The other thing about this character is she's meant to be the hacker for them, the one to break into security systems. At the very start, she has no idea what she's doing, and suddenly she can do it all of a sudden. You can't go from not knowing what you're doing to be able to hack security systems in a very short time frame. Reality doesn't work like that. Also, the book has no detail about the hacking. There's no concept of how that's done. I think if you're going to write a story about heists, about crimes that involve hacking and in-depth knowledge of security, that sort of thing, you have to include detail about that in the book, or it's not lifelike, it's not believable. This book promises so much. It doesn't deliver at all on those promises. Sure, there's an art heist, but it's not exciting, not engaging, it's not believable at all. And there's so much in this book that's just not written that well. I don't think it's crafted that well, the whole story. I think this comes down to marketing more than anything else. I rate this a 2 out of 5. At this point, I don't know if I'd be interested in reading the next book that the author brings out. This one didn't interest me after the read. I read it because I can't finish a book once I start. That's a problem for me to work through, but I did read the book. I didn't think much of it. I think the marketing plays more into this than the story itself. I do review a lot of thriller books on my channel. If you don't want to miss out on those videos, check out my channel and subscribe. I also have a thriller playlist. Should be on your screen now.